and hopefully I'll have this in a couple of days just because I'm so excited to be able to compare them. Hi, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Oline and I'm a knitter from Norway, and welcome to my knitting podcast. Here I talk about all things knitting, my current project, finished projects, planned projects, yarn, just anything that comes to mind while I sit here and chat with you all. Thank you so much for coming to hang out with me today. This week I have been home alone with my toddler the whole week, and I'm still home alone with him, so that's not ideal when it comes to filming this podcast. But I really wanted to be able to film this podcast this week because even though being home alone with my toddler makes the filming of this podcast a bit harder, I find that I get so much more knitting done when I'm home alone with my toddler versus when my fiance is at home. I think both because I just utilize my time a bit better, which means I end up actually getting more knitting time in, and there's also no one here to tell me to go to bed, so I just get more knitting done. And this week I've gotten a lot of knitting done and I'm really eager to share that with you. So I'm going to try to podcast while my son is here, and we'll just have to see how well that goes. I have tried to plan this out so he'll be entertained while I do this, but he is 3, so there's always an element of surprise, so we'll just see how that goes. But before we get into the rest of the podcast and what I've been doing this week, I want to share what I'm wearing, and I'm actually wearing I've been knitting on for pretty big chunk of the week, and that is my Blouse No. 1. I did show this in last week's podcast as well. I had just gotten started on it then. I started on it right before doing last week's podcast, so exactly a week ago, and this was such a fun project. As I said, it's the Blouse No. 1 by Myfavoritethings.knitwear, and I've knit mine in the size medium, and I use Drops Cotton Merino. Unfortunately, this color of Drops Cotton Merino is discontinued, but I think it was like turquoise it was called or something, and it is a really lovely summer color, especially for summer. I think this just screams color, both the fit and the color, so I am so pleased with this being like the first summer knit really this season. And this also started an absolute obsession with knitting all of the summer knits, so that's really been where my mind has been this week. But as I said, I started this exactly a week ago, and this is knit on 5mm needles, which means it grew really quickly. Just the little bit I'd done before last week's podcast was a good chunk of it, and then it just kept progressing that quickly. So just by the end of the first 24 hours I had separated for sleeves and actually gotten quite a bit done on the body. I think I was like here on the body maybe after just 24 hours, so this was definitely a really quick project. I did slow down a bit after I finished the body. The body was also finished really quickly after that 24-hour mark. It just finished really quickly. This was exactly what I needed after the last few weeks of a lot of structure and a lot of small needles and pressure to knit things on time, and this was just something I really wanted to knit in a really funny color on bigger needles, and it just flew by, and it was lots of stockinette. This whole thing is stockinette. So I just love that. This was a great project to get my knitting mojo back and get back in the groove. But when I finished the body, I was obsessed with this project until then. It was all I could think about. I just wanted to work on this non-stop. But when I finished the body, I did get a bit like turned off from the project. I knew that I was just getting in my own head, but I really cannot stand when hems roll up on knitwear. It looks very unfinished. I know that seems to be like a new trend. Petiteknit does that, for example, on the end of her cuffs to make it roll up, and I can not stand it at all. And of course this has no edging. You just cast off, so it's all stockinette, no I-cords, no nothing. So of course when I bound off down here, it would start roll up. It still rolls up a bit, but it would like roll up like this, and I hated it. And I knew by looking at photos, and just I knew it would probably block out. But I really struggled to want to work on this after that, just because I don't like even seeing like knitwear roll up. It looks so unfinished, and it's just not a look I like. So I slowed down a lot after that, even though I knew in my head that it would get fixed by just finishing it and blocking it. I slowed down a bit. But I did knit the sleeves, and I love knitting the sleeves because they went by really quickly, and I also loved the shape they made. And once I finished the first sleeve, I saw that the sleeve didn't roll as much as the body did, so that helped my motivation in finishing the second one. And I actually got myself to weave in the ends quite quickly after finishing it, and I washed it, and now it's dry, and as you can see, it does not really roll at all. So I am making this a second time, and I'm definitely less worried about this time around, even though I'm knitting in a different yarn. So still a bit worried, but at least with this one it doesn't roll, and I'm so happy with that, because when I started knitting on this, I thought this was definitely going to be like a favorite sweater of mine, a go-to summer knit, just a go-to in general. And then when it started rolling up, I was like, oh no, because I can't stand rolling up. But now it's fixed, and it's relaxed a bit after washing, and I know this is going to be a go-to. And we've had a bit colder weather in the last few days than we had before, and this is just perfect for that, because it is 50% merino, 50% cotton. It's really lightweight and flowy, and I love the fit of these sleeves. They fit quite like tightly here, and then they flare out down here, and I love that look, and I'm just obsessed with the whole sweater, really. This was a really fun knit. It turned out to look really great, and it was just really fun, and also the fact that it progressed so quickly was really rewarding. That triggered my reward system a lot, just always being able to see progress. I really love that, so that was a really fun time, and I felt a bit like I was playing yarn chicken towards the end, because I think I had to tap into the last skein I had, and I still had a bit to go, so I was a bit worried, but that turned out fine. The one thing about this though, since I did it in both cotton and merino, is that I had to weave in all of the ends instead of doing split splicing, which I'm used to now. And also because it has quite a loose gauge, I didn't love weaving in ends on this, because it was just a bit more finicky than I'm used to with a tighter gauge, and also I'm used to less ends to weave in now. But all in all, it was an absolutely lovely project. I love the fit. I love these small details with how the increases is done, so it lays like that with this armholes. As I said, I love these flared sleeves, so just all of the details and everything that went into making this I love, and this is definitely going to be so great for summer. I can't wait. This dried this morning, so this is the first day I've been able to wear it, and I just know this is going to be my most worn piece this summer. I am absolutely obsessed with this sweater, and you're probably going to see more of it, because I think I'm going to live in this summer. But we can move on to my whips and the things I've been knitting on this week that are not finished. Usually when I talk about my whips, I go from oldest to newest, or sometimes I do newest to oldest, but this week I thought I'd just go kind of in the order I've knit on them on, so what I knit on most at the beginning of the week, and then what I knit on in the middle of the week and what I knit on at the end of the week, because that's usually how I separate my knitting anyway. So I thought I'd do it that way this time. And then my first project is going to be my second blouse number 1. I had 2 types of yarn that I really wanted to knit the blouse number 1 in. And this is the first yarn I had that I had the plan for the longest. Husker du at du skal være stille? This is the yarn that I originally planned to do the blouse number 1 in, and then this came sweeping in and stole the first place, so I had to make this first because this one is more of the right type of yarn for the blouse number 1. The blouse number 1 originally is 2 strands of pure silk, I think, so that's more like the gauge this one makes. But I really like this color for the blouse number 1 as well. This is Yndestrikk Baby Merino in the color Old Pink, I think. But as you know, Yndestrikk Baby Merino is not really the right gauge. Yndestrikk Baby Merino is like 1 strand of pure silk, so it's definitely not quite right. But I made a swatch and I really like the fabric it makes. So I started, but my one like kind of big mistake with this one was that I started this while I was quite busy. I had I started this a bit before this one was finished, so I was still really like into the pattern, so I thought I knew everything that was going on. So I cast this on and then went to a meeting, and when I was there I couldn't really look at the pattern, of course, so I just knit what I knew, and I totally forgot about the German short rows. Those slipped my mind. So this has no German short rows, which I don't think is a major issue because it is just a really wide sweater, so I don't think having German short rows would make a huge difference. And it also, with this one, didn't make a huge difference because it didn't build that much by the time we were done with the German short rows. So I guess it's just going to be like even higher up on my neck with this one. But since it doesn't have German short rows, it might be because of the yarn, but I also think it is because of the German short rows. The neckline curls a lot more because it doesn't have any structure to it like the German short rows would add, so it just curls a lot, which, as I said, is a major turn off for me, so I've been struggling with that a bit. But this is going to be a really different blouse number 1 anyways. The yarn is different, the gauge is a bit different. I think it might be a bit less oversized, but also baby merino usually grows when you wash it, so I think the fit will be maybe about the same. But I'm thinking for this one, since it is already quite different, that I might do I-cord edges, at least for the top here, just because I feel like that is going to curl a lot no matter what. It curls a lot with this one too, so I might do I-cord on this at the top, and then maybe just on all the edges, just to make this one a bit different. Another thing I like about it not having German short rows is that means I can wear this both ways, because with this one it is actually a bit hard because the German short rows really build so little. There's such a small difference that you really have to like look at it multiple times to tell, and I don't usually like sew in any like tags to show what's the wrong and right side. But with this one, since it doesn't have any German short rows, I can wear it whichever way I want, which is just going to make that a bit easier. But yeah, I started this one, I think it was around the time that I had finished the body on this one, because when I started doing the sleeves it was just a bit too big to carry around with me, so I wanted to start something smaller, so that's why I started this. I am quite happy with it so far. I think my stitches are quite even. On the back side here there are some wonky ones, but I'm pretty sure that's all going to fix itself in blocking. It is really fun to make these two like right after each other, but in such different yarns, because it feels very different on my needles with such like thin yarn compared to what it did with this one, where the yarn was a lot thicker and just the whole feel of the sweater is very different. But the fit of it looks quite similar, so I think this is just going to be a great sweater. I might even crop the sleeves a bit for this one, because this just feels like an even better like summer top, because the gauge is very open and the sweater is very thin. So I don't know if it I think it would work with long sleeves, but I also think this would work very well with a bit shorter sleeves. I don't know, because I really like the detail where this flare at the end, and for that to look good I feel like this would need to have full-length sleeves, so I have to think a bit more about that. But I think this is going to be great, even though this one is the one with cotton and this is just 100% merino. The fact that this is so thin I think will make it really nice. And another reason why I'm so obsessed with these two sweaters and just had to cast on immediately is that I just find it so fun to be able to knit with such different yarns, but with the same pattern, and still get kind of the same gauge, and just see how that will affect the fit and the wearability and where and when I want to wear the sweaters. I'm really excited to have these both in my closet for a while, so I can kind of see when I choose one or the other. I think that will be very fun, and I also just really enjoy this pattern. As I said, it gives me exactly the stockinette fix that I need. I love doing stockinette, so having this, that's literally all of it is stockinette. There's not a single part that's something else. It's just been really great, and just having something completely mindless, so I've been loving that. Another thing I love about this one is that it's going to be so lightweight. I think this one ended up weighing a bit over 300 grams, or right around 300, whereas with this one I've gotten this far and I've just tapped into my second skein. You can see this is the second skein and it still looks really full, so I think this is going to end up weighing around 150 grams, if that, because I can definitely, I think, finish at least the body with the skein I'm on now, and then maybe get both sleeves out of a third skein. So I'm just having a lot of fun making the two exact same sweaters, but also wildly different. And I love repeating patterns where you've already gotten familiar with the pattern, you've already done it once, you kind of know what's going on, except that I totally forgot with the German short rows. But knitting it right after each other is quite nice. It can also be a bit of a curse, like when I did it with the twins. I've been knitting a lot for, but because these sweaters are also so widely different, it's been really fun, and I can't wait to also have this other one finished so I can wash that and try it on and just try both on and compare. I'm so excited to be able to compare, and I'm also really interested to see how much this grows, because baby merino, I know some people with baby merino experience that the baby merino grows a lot, and for me it usually doesn't grow that much, but I think that's because my gauge is so tight, because I found that if you knit with a tight gauge with baby merino it doesn't really grow, but the looser your gauge is, the more it grows, and this is a super loose gauge, so I'm really interested to test that theory as well, to see if it really grows more the looser the gauge is. But yeah, this is my second blouse number 1. I have gotten quite far on it, even though it hasn't really been my main project. It was just my main project for that meeting, and then it's just kind of been there whenever I've needed stockinette fix. But I have separated the sleeves and just barely Det ikke lov å helle over. Da må du drikke fra koppen min.
Ja.
I've just barely started working in the round here, but you don't do a lot of length after you start working in the round. At least I've not done that, because that's what suits me the best. So I am almost done with the body, I'd say, and then just the sleeves, which also go by really quickly. So I am super excited by this, and hopefully I'll have this in a couple of days, just because I'm so excited to be able to compare them. My next whip I haven't really worked a lot on this week. It has just been a bit too warm really to work with mohair, but I did pick it up just now, or just yesterday evening. I did pick this up again. There's just so many needles and so much going on now, but now I have figured it out. I did pick this up again yesterday because I am really eager to have this finished. This was supposed to be my spring cardigan, but now it's already June, so it's not really happening. June for me is the summer month, so I did not get to finish this in spring, but I knit on it all of spring, and that was also really lovely to knit and watch this cardigan come to life as everything was coming to life around me. That was awesome, and it really made me tune in to everything coming to life, so I'm really thankful for this project, for doing that. But even though I didn't finish it for spring, I do really want to finish it in time for my birthday, and my birthday is in exactly a week. I'm filming this Friday. Next Friday is my birthday, and I would love to be able to wear this. It might be a bit warm, but I would love to be able to wear this for my birthday. I love the color, I love the fit, I think I'm going to love everything about it, so I would appreciate it so much if I was able to wear it. So therefore I did pick it up yesterday, and what I have left is just doing the button bands and the sleeves, but the button bands are done with double knitting. So here's what I got done. I started picking up the stitches for the button band yesterday, and I didn't get any further, and then today I started knitting the actual button band, and this is how far I've gotten. I've done not even half of just the v-neck part of it, so it's definitely going to be a labor of love. It's definitely going to take me a long time, because double knitting just does that. Take a long time, but I am quite happy with how it's looking. Of course, here you see the neckline I'd done last time, and here is the start of this button band, and I really love as I've talked about before, I love this pattern. It holds your hand in, I would say, the perfect way. It gives you a lot of information, but not too much, and the information that isn't written in the pattern, to not make the pattern way too long. The designer has made videos for every step, so if I'm ever unsure and want more information than is in the pattern, she has videos where she does like the whole cardigan basically. So I love that, but I really loved her way of explaining where to place the buttons and how to do math to figure out the length you want them apart, and even give you what to do if you want more or less buttons. So I really appreciated that. I decided to go for 3 buttons instead of 4, just because a lot of the cardigan is v-neck and you don't have buttons for the v-neck, and then the distance from the first buttonhole to the last isn't that great. So I thought 3 would work out. So now I'm just slowly working my way to the first buttonhole. But what I have noticed that I'm not loving, and I don't know what to do about it. I think this is just my second time ever working double knitting in a garment. I've done double knitting where I've just done like a square for the honey purse or something, but this is my second time doing it in a garment, and for me it just kind of flares here, not the one that is like knit into the fabric of this, but the like free edge here really flares, and the stitches here are just a bit bigger than all the other ones, and I've tried really hard to tighten my stitches around there and do everything I can think about to get it a bit tighter, but my stitches that are towards like the cardigan are a lot tighter than my stitches the furthest out, so I am a bit afraid that that's going to flare. But if you've done double knitting more than me, if you have any suggestions, I would love to hear those. If this is just something that happens and then it blocks out, I truly don't know. I've not done double knitting a lot before. I think this is my first time actually doing double knitting, and then not doing it at the same time as you do the knitting, because last time I did double knitting I did it with my Knit cardigan, and that's brioche, so I did the double knitting at the same time as I did the rest of the cardigan. So I just don't really know about it, and it's also hard to see how much it actually flares now that I've just done so little. So I'm going to try to continue working. I don't really know how I would improve it either, because I'm really trying to not knit too tightly on the other stitches and at the same time tighten it around the edge here, because that's just really tight. I guess if I just really can't figure out what to do, I could always pull on the stitches and pull the stitches that are loose there to even it more out. But yeah, if you have any suggestions, I'd love to hear that, because I feel for a cardigan I'm so pleased with, I would hate for the like vibe I have with this to be ruined by a button blend that just flares a bit too much. But yeah, this is how it is so far. I can't wait to get further on this. I am just really excited. I'm doing the one with the button band first, so this is probably what's going to take me the longest, and then the second button band, and then the sleeves. So I really hope I'll be able to do all of that in a week, and also have time to do some other things, because I will definitely need to take some breaks from these button bands to just do some other things. Probably get in more of my stockinette fixes, because this is quite finicky and I have to concentrate, and it's not the easiest to do by looking after a toddler. But I do really hope I'll be able to work and want to work a lot on this cardigan, because I just envision it for my birthday so much. So I really want to be able to make that come true. Hi. Hi. But that is it for the fall cardigan right now. I'm knitting that in Drops Kid Silk and Drops Baby Merino in the color Parrot Green and Strong Green, I think they're called. The mohair is the Parrot Green and the Baby Merino is the Strong Green. And hopefully the next time I show that to you, it's going to be finished. I don't know how I'm going to do it with filming next week's podcast, if that's going to be filmed a bit early, but hopefully it will be done the next time you see it. But I really have not worked a ton on that this week. My son is getting really impatient, so I think I'll have to take a bit of a break, but that is basically everything I've been working on this week. I also have the baby blanket, the Garnotopia baby blanket here. I have not really worked on that this week, but my intention is for this to be something I work on. Yeah, my intention is for this to be something I work a lot on going forwards, because this is a great kind of mindless project for me. And this week I've also very heavily focused on knitting for myself. So now I really want to also knit for others, but not necessarily gift knits with an intended receiver, just gift knits in general to go in my gift knit drawer. My gift knit drawer got really depleted last year and the beginning of this year as well, because people have just been having babies and needed gifts a lot quicker than I've been able to knit for them. So I don't really have a gift drawer that is really functional anymore, because it is just really depleted. So I am really looking forward to being able to fill that back up and to also get started doing summer knits for my son. But we're going to take a bit of a break, and then I'm going to be back and talk about another finished project I have this week. And I also have gotten some yarn, but first a little break. We're back. I hope the lighting hasn't changed too much, but I'm back and ready to talk about another thing I finished this week. And as I said, I started the week off by knitting this blouse number 1, and after doing that I was just obsessed with 5mm needles. I found that I made a lot of progress really quickly, which felt really great to just see progress all the time. And also with this I did knit a lot because I was just obsessed with the pattern and the color and everything, and I found also that 5mm needles were just perfect for my hand. I can knit a lot with 5mm needles without feeling it. I can knit quite a lot more on small millimeter needles than on big, but I have found that with, for example, 3mm needles, which I've knit a lot with, if I knit too much on that, or if I knit maybe too quickly with that, my hands can start cramping a bit. But if I just take small breaks, I don't really get that, whereas with big needles I have to be really careful. But with 5mm needles I could knit as fast as possible, I could knit for really long continuous periods of time, I could knit for a lot of the hours out of the day without my hand really feeling it at all. And I was just obsessed. So first I did this, then I started on the other blouse number 1, and then I really wanted to knit myself something else, so I stole the needle out of blouse number 1 and cast on this Always camisole. The Always camisole you're really meant to knit on 5.5mm needles, but I've tried that before and that just did not work. And that just did not work out for the yarn I want to do it in. I've done this Always camisole in Drops Cotton Merino as well, same as this, just in another color. This color you can still get. This is the jeans blue, if I'm not wrong, the number 16. And I love this color. I also think this suits me really nicely. I have only tried it on once, and that was before it was fully finished. With this one as well, this has all of the I-cord edges, but with this one also I was really worried, because after I did the I-cord bind off on the body, I did that quite loosely so it wouldn't be like really loose here and then super tight here, so I did the I-cord loosely, and of course that meant that it would roll up. Of course that meant that it would roll up, but again, after blocking, it all worked out, and I am actually quite proud of myself for having weaved in and washed 2 of the things I finished this week before the podcast. That usually never happens. And actually I did talk a bit about wanting to do gift knits to fill up my gift drawer, but I also have this big basket here, which I have completely filled with all of my finished projects, which I have just not weaved in and sewed in buttons. They're finished but not quite. I've gathered all of them up, and there are so many. I think I'm closing in on actually having 20. I really want to get to those as well, and now that I feel I've had a really productive week, and I also weaved in the ends, and that felt so great to be able to weave them in and wash them and really be able to see the final product and how that really was, because if you kind of stop your project before you get to the blocking stage, you don't really get to see how beautiful it is in the end, because blocking really matters a lot of the time, especially with these 2. So I'm going to try to do that this week as well. we are going away on Friday on my birthday, so I would love to be able to have finished all of that by then, so I can come back from that trip and not have all of those projects hanging over me anymore, because some of these I haven't weaved in the end since like last September, and that's almost a year. So I really just want to get it out of the way, and once you sit down and weave in ends, it doesn't really take that long. It's just that I really prefer knitting and I don't want to take a break from my knitting. But this is the Always camisole. I did a whole video just on this because I did a challenge when I made this to try to see if I could do it in a day, because it is a quite simple construction. As I said, it is on quite big needles and the progress is just insane. So I really wanted to see if I could do it in a day, but as I've said, I'm alone with my toddler all week, so that definitely impacted how much I could actually do. So I didn't end up being able to finish it all in that one day, but it was a really fun like challenge just to see how much knitting I realistically can get in a day, and also to spend all of my knitting time one day just working on one project and see how much I can get done then. I really enjoyed doing that, and it also gave me the motivation to cast on this. Yeah, so bra. And I'm so glad I got the motivation to cast this on. I just made another one like this as a gift, but now I also finally have my own, and I'm so excited because I think the fit is amazing, and this color I also think is going to be really good for me. And now I also have something for the days where it's just too warm to have something long sleeved. I still have something, and I love the fact that it is a bit thicker and on 5mm needles, and still with 50% wool, because that means I can also easily use this as a layering piece in winter. And I think the cut is also good for it to be a layering piece. I think this also would look great under different cardigans, both for winter and for like evenings in the summer. You wear this all day and then you just slip on a cardigan at night. So I am really happy with this one. I did almost finish it that one day I started working on it, but the days following I was just busy, so like this part of the body and all of the edges ended up taking me probably like 2 or 3 days. But yeah, that is my Always camisole. If I didn't mention, it is by the designer Garnogslikt, and I'm absolutely obsessed with this camisole since I started making it. I first found the pattern I think 2 weeks ago, and I've already made 2, and it really doesn't take up that much yarn either, and I have a lot of the drops cotton merino in my stash, so if I have any colors where my quantity is all only like 4 skeins, I think this would be a perfect project because I really like it, and I think it's very versatile, so it would be a great gift as well. So this is definitely going to be a staple for me, and this as well, can't wait to wear it. And the drops cotton merino just turns so soft once you wash it. And also I think the fabric it makes is quite nice because the stitches were a bit uneven when I was working with it, but now it has all evened out, which I am really happy about. But these are the 2 projects I finished this week, and this week was definitely ruled by knitting things for myself. And a lot of it was knit using drops cotton merino, and I think everything I knit this week was on 5mm needles. And lastly, before everyone loses their patience, I have gotten something this week, and I know I am on like a self-imposed like yarn ban or low buy or something, but it is nearing my birthday, and I really needed something to do yesterday. I had to fill the day with something, so I decided that we would go just look at yarn. Both I love looking at yarn, and my son also loves it. He loves to come in here and just look at the yarn, so I thought let's make it an even better experience and go to a yarn store, because this is a lot but the yarn store is more. So we did that, and at the yarn store a lot of yarn was 50% off, and 50% off is a lot. And I also have a gift card that I got for Mother's Day that I really want to use before it expires. I got it in February, and I don't know if it's good for 6 months or 12 months, but I want to use it before it expires. And I feel like yarn bought with gift card doesn't really count, because I didn't like spend my own money. The money on the gift card, I was already like tied up at the yarn store, so I feel that's fair. And I let my son pick out yarn immediately when he saw the yarn, and it was the yarn that was on discount as well. He just started gathering in his arms everything. He just wanted everything. But we decided on one color together. This Tin Merino from Sandnes Garn. I think this was a part of their work together with Klumpe Lumpe. It is like this burgundy rust red. It is a mix of all of those. It is the color 3355. So maybe I'll go look at what that color name was supposed to be. But we got this color, and once we had agreed on a color, I pulled up Knit A Note and we looked through all the pattern that I already have, and we decided on a pattern together for him to make the sweater, and I decided on the size I was going to make it in and figured out how much yarn we needed. This is going to be for the, I think it's called Alfred sweater. I'm not quite sure now. These are the buttons here, this really cute sheep, and he just absolutely fell in love with it. And I am, as I said, trying to not buy that much yarn, so I thought this would be a great way to use that gift card at my local yarn store, and at the same time not get any more yarn. And nå snakker du, ja? Ja. Ja, det lov? Ja. Nei, da må du ut. It is a sweater I've made twice for him, and that I really enjoyed both times. One of them still fit, so I really wanted to make that again, and it's just super cute. So we got the yarn for that. I think that ended up being 5 skeins of the tin merino wool, but that was 50% off, so I feel like I saved a lot on that. And then when we went to the checkout, my son saw some buttons that he really loved, and it was these buttons with found these buttons with a sheep engraved at the top. I'll try to show it up, and he just fell in love. He had to have them, and the whole point of going to the yarn store was to avoid tantrums and to avoid bad moods throughout the day. So, and also I had a gift card, and I am trying to not buy yarn, so I thought it was a good idea to buy buttons instead of buying more yarn. So I did end up getting some of these buttons. I think I got 10. I didn't really have any intended use for them, but I have thought a bit about it, and as I mentioned, I have quite a few items I need to weave in ends and do buttons for, and quite a few of those are for my son, and I know there's at least one jacket there and a sweater I think that needs buttons. So I thought at least the jacket could get these buttons with sheep on. I think at least the Carl's cardigan, because that's knit also in Per Gynt, which is Norwegian wool, and I thought it would be so cute for that jacket to have this sheep on it. So that's definitely something I want to do, and also a bit of extra motivation for me to actually sew in buttons for that one. But that is what I got. I got 5 skeins of the tin merino and then 10 buttons, and I still have a bit left on the gift card. So we'll see if I go back there once before my birthday to get some yarn, or if I save it for later. I think next time I go there I want to bring my fiance, because I get so overwhelmed in person with all of the colors and all of the possibilities, so I just really struggle with making up my mind. That's why it was great to bring my toddler, because he has a lot of opinions. But next time I think I want to bring my fiance too, so he can help me decide on something. Maybe he wants something, so I can prepare for his birthday a bit early. But that is everything I have this week, both for what I've gotten and what I've knit on. I feel like this has been a surprisingly I feel like I've gotten a surprising amount of work done this week. I really did not expect that going into it, and I also think and hope this podcast turned out okay and that it wasn't too much background noise. We did try our best, and at least I got to film one. But I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please leave a like and a comment. Those mean the absolute world to me. And if you want to see more from me, please subscribe and remember to ring that bell button so you'll be reminded every time I post. Bye!